Greetings, this is Doc Ock coming at you live and direct from Black Facts Headquarters Central this evening with another installment of Doc Ock at noon and 9, designed to help everybody out there feel real fine. If you weren't already, I hope you will when we get done. And just to help us have a little bit more fun, let's do a couple things together today. Number one, go ahead and give us a like if you're watching on Facebook. If you're watching on the tube, give us a thumbs up. And no matter what platform you may be watching on, please, please, please go ahead and share the love. Spread it around. Let everybody know where they should be at 9 o'clock or what they should be doing. Because now you can do this mobilely using your phone globally. So it doesn't matter where you're at. It just matters that you know what time it is. And right now it's time for us to go ahead and get down. So we're going to go ahead and do our proverb today without a frown, because we're flying low to the ground. Let's see. Okay, here we go. Proverb for today. When the heart overflows, it comes out through the mouth. When the heart overflows, it comes out through the mouth. When the heart overflows, it comes out through the mouth. Okay, that's the proverb for today, and that is a proverb from where else but Ethiopia. I don't know where you were thinking it might have been from, but it's almost always from Ethiopia. We got so many good proverbs coming out of Ethiopia. It's a pity and a shame. A pity and a shame. All right, so let's see what we got over here. Boom, there we go. So we're going to go ahead. We're going to be reading from the our book, the African American Book of Values again. And we've got some, we've got a new piece in here today. May even be able to get in two if we're lucky. Whoa, where'd that come from? May even be able to get in two. This one I thought was very interesting because I thought I knew something about the Montgomery bus boycott. You know, we read the book on it earlier. We read what John Lewis had to say about it earlier. But somehow they seem to have missed what Joanne Robinson had to say about it. Now, Joanne Robinson was there as well. She was part of the mix right there with Rosa Parks and the rest of them. But for some reason, her story has not really been told like some of the others. Although there are some mothers out there that know about this, like mine, because she knew. So, Organizing the Bus Boycott by Joanne Robinson. Let's see what she has to say. Community spirit can spread quickly and have a powerful effect. We saw how fast it can spread in 1955 after Rosa Parks refused to give up her seat on a Montgomery, Alabama bus and was arrested for defying segregation laws. Her arrest sent shockwaves through the black community, prompting immediate action. To protest the arrest and support Parks, a local group led a citywide bus boycott. Nearly all area blacks joined in. A local newspaper reported Negroes were on almost every street corner in the downtown area, silent, waiting for rides or moving about to keep warm, but few, if any, got on the buses. The boycott also showed how effective community spirit can be. 13 months after it had begun, blacks could sit in any seat on the bus. In the following paragraphs, Joanne Robinson, who you see depicted right here if you're watching on YouTube, who played a crucial role in the bus boycott, tells how black people were prepared for the boycott. The Women's Political Council was an organization begun in 1946 after dozens of black people had been arrested on the buses. We witnessed the arrests and humiliations and the court trials and the fines paid by people who just sat down on empty seats. We knew something had to be done. We organized the Women's Council, and within a month's time, we had over 100 members. We organized a second chapter and a third, and soon we had more than 300 members. We had members in every elementary, junior high, and senior high school. We had them organized from federal and state and local jobs. Wherever there were more than 10 blacks employed, we had a member there. We were organized to the point that we knew that in a matter of hours we could corral the whole city. The evening that Rosa Parks was arrested, Fred Gray called me and told me that her case would be heard on Monday. As president of the main body of the Women's Political Council, I got on the phone and called all the officers of the 3 chapters. I told them that Rosa Parks had been arrested and she would be tried. They said, "You have the plans, put them into operation." I didn't go to bed that night. I cut those stencils and took them to the college. The fellow who let me in during the night is dead now. He was in the business department. I ran off 35,000 copies. I talked with every member of the Women's Council in the elementary, junior high, and senior high schools and told them to have somebody on the campus. I told them I would be there to deliver them the handbills. I taught my classes from 8 a.m. to 10 a.m. When my 10 a.m. class was over, I took 2 senior students with me. I would drive to the place of dissemination, and a kid would be there to grab the handbills. After we had circulated those 35,000 circulars, we went by the church. That was about 3:30 in the afternoon. We took them to the minister. The ministers agreed to meet that night to decide what should be done about the boycott after the first day. You see, the Women's Council planned it only for Monday, and it was left up to the men to take over after we had forced them to decide whether or not it had been successful enough to continue and how long it was to be continued. They had agreed at the Friday night meeting that they would call this meeting at Holt Street Church, and they would let the audience determine whether or not they would continue the bus boycott or end it in one day. Monday night, the ministers held their meeting. The church itself holds 4,000 or 5,000 people, but there were thousands of people outside of the church that night. They had to put up loudspeakers so they would know what was happening. When they got through reporting that very few people had ridden the bus, that the boycott was really a success, I don't know if there was one vote that said, no, don't continue that boycott. They voted unanimously to continue the boycott. And instead of it lasting one day, as the Women's Council had planned it, it lasted for 13 months. The spirit, the desire, the injustices that had been endured by thousands of people through the years, I think people were fed up. They had reached the point that they knew there was no return, that they had to do it or die. And that's what kept it going. It was the sheer spirit for freedom, for the feeling of being a man or a woman. Now, when you ask why the courts had to come in, they had to come in. You get 52,000 people in the streets and nobody's showing any fear, something had to give. So the Supreme Court had to rule that segregation was not the way of life. We met after the news came through. All of these people who had fought got together to communicate and to rejoice and to share that built up emotion and all the other feelings they had lived with during the past 13 months. And we just rejoiced together. Building community is not that hard. It just takes ordinary friendliness. The woman who took me to the doctor when my arthritis got bad is a checkout person at my grocery store. When she helped me with my groceries all those years, we spoke. I didn't stand there looking at the floor or the ceiling. We became acquainted. Now, that's something I can really relate to because we're about to lose a lot of that as Walmart now is beginning to install automated checkout registers throughout the whole store. So instead of just having 2 or 3, you have 23. And really very much less human contact because you know how hard it is to find somebody in a Walmart when you need them. You can barely find a person to ask directions or where something's at or anything like that at all. So, and for me, that's partly why I go to the store. If I didn't want human contact, I would have bought the item on Amazon. I could have just as easily done that. So, so that was our story for the evening. As you can see, we could wrap it up in short order. Now, possibly I could read one more. I had another short one in here. Let me see, because we got a few more minutes left here. Let's see how short my other one was here. Let me see. 1, 2, 3. Okay, let's see if we can read this one too. This one is actually entitled Juneteenth. So we'll do 2 stories for tonight. And this one is by Lisa Jones. Abraham Lincoln issued the Emancipation Proclamation, a presidential decree. A presidential decree that won't play the slideshow. A presidential decree to free slaves and admit blacks into the armed forces on January 1st, 1863. Most slaves in the South did not hear about the proclamation for years, learning of it from various sources. Free blacks in New Orleans, Louisiana spread word of Lincoln's directive in their own French-English newspaper, Le Union. But in Texas, news may have come to blacks via muleback messenger. In 1992, a New York journalist investigated how and when Texans celebrate an annual holiday commemorating freedom. No, wait a minute. That's not the one we wanted to read. We read that one already. Here we go. The one we're reading right now this is about other holidays, and it's only 2 pages. That's why we're reading this one. All right, so this one is about Junkanoo, an original slave holiday. Each year, millions of American families celebrate holidays that pay homage to black figures and historical events. But before there was Martin Luther King Jr.'s birthday, Black History Month, Juneteenth, and Kwanzaa, there were other African American holidays of joy and upliftment. In the North, these included the Parade of Governors, Pinkster King, and Crispus Attucks Day. Begun in 1750 and celebrated for nearly a century, the Parade of Governors was a mock election day holiday in which blacks in New England campaigned amongst themselves for government posts, imitating whites. They made campaign promises, practiced mudslinging, then voted and held an inaugural ball. Ain't that something? Pinkster King, named for Pinkster Hill in Albany, New York, was a week-long festival of parades and dances celebrated in the North until 1811. Slaves honored the man they considered royalty, King Charlie, who was supposedly kidnapped from southwestern Africa and sold in slavery. Crispus Attucks Day was celebrated on March 5th in Boston, beginning in 1858. He was shot and killed by British soldiers in the Boston Massacre on March 5th, 1770. One of the events that precipitated the American Revolution. In the South, slaves celebrated yet another festival, Junkanoo. Here is how they observed it. A costumed king appeared amid mass joviality. A processional court of musicians and assistants followed close behind. Junkanoo, shouted the slave children and adults, pointing and gasping at his hideous white mask. The audience was held spellbound by his magnificent costume of it seemed a million colors and textures, grass, animal skins, and assorted fabrics, to name a few. With a glorious house or boat-shaped headdress shadowing it all. Suddenly, his musicians broke into intoxicating beats, and Junkanoo began to sing and dance down the road in a profusion of jerks and gyrations. The crowd cheered, imitated his steps, and threw coins at his feet. Still, the show didn't end there. Between the songs, Junkanoo bestowed a repertoire of folklore long into the feast-filled night. This 19th century Mardi Gras-style festival emerged as a private celebration of slaves in North Carolina that coincided with the slaveholders' major holidays. Depending on what part of the state you're in and who you're talking to, the holiday has a multitude of additional nicknames with various spellings. John Connie, Junkanoo, as C-O-N-N-U, or John Cooner, as in K-O-O-N-E-R, John Crow, John Crayfish, John Cooner, that's C-O-O-N-E-R, Junkanoo, J-O-N-K-A-N-O-O, Junkanoo, Cuckoo, Coonering, and even Who's. However, our diasporan family in the West Indies remain loyal to the name Coonering and still celebrates the holiday today. Unfortunately, Junkanoo was put to an end in North Carolina around 1900 by the police, who represented offended whites, and by upper-class blacks who thought the festival a racial blemish. Blemish? Well, you decide for yourself after you learn who the Junkanoo Festival truly honors. Since this event is an African-born tradition, it's believed that the symbolic name is derived from the king of Axum, John Connie, from Africa's Gold Coast. During his life from 1660 to 1732, Connie was known as one of the Gold Coast's finest black African merchants, having initiated trade between the Ashanti and the Germans. His fame spread, however, when as commander of the Prussian Fort Brandenburg, he outfoxed and defeated Dutch merchants who were attempting to take control of the fort. This triumph gained him many honors, including the renaming of the fort to Connie's Castles and the bestowed title of the last Prussian Negro Prince. Like the last King of Scotland? The last Prussian Negro Prince. Well, ain't that about a blip? Okay, I did not know all of that was included with Junkanoo. I knew it as a festival from the islands, from Jamaica and some of the other islands. They still celebrate Junkanoo, and they do call it Junkanoo or Junkanoo. That is what they call it. So I don't know with this Coonering. I had never heard of that one before. That was a whole new thing for me altogether. But nevertheless, those are our two stories for the night. I hope you enjoyed that and got something out of it. For all you little people out there, you know what time it is. I don't have to give you a quiz because I know you's already a whiz. So let's begin to do your biz and lay your little head on your little pillow, on your little bed, close those your eyes, and wait for that sun to rise. And when that big old ball comes up in that sky and those light beams shine down on your eyes, that's when you know it's time to rise and shine, oh children of mine. Absolutely. That's when it's time to rise and shine, and not a minute before. You wait for that sun to come up. And as for you adults, you know you got to be on your job as well. I need you on the case for the race. So go ahead, give us a like if you're watching on Facebook. If you're on YouTube, even better. Give us a thumbs up, and then go ahead and take one more step and become a member of the Black Facts. Become a sustaining member of the Black Facts family. Okay, become a sustaining member of our Black Facts family. How do you do that? You make a donation. A recurring donation will make you a sustaining member. You can make a one-time donation, but a recurring donation is even better. Okay, you can determine how much is going to be donated per month. $5, $10, $15, $20. You decide how much you want to give every month, and that would just help us out greatly, because it will help keep our voice as independent as possible, unfettered by the whims of politics and politicians. So if you like what we're doing, become a sustaining member. You can use your phone, you can do it on your laptop, you can do it on YouTube, you can do it on Facebook, you can do it at our website. Our website is blakfacts.org. That's where you find me, and as you will see, you can make a donation too. There's a link in the top corner. Easy to find it. In the meanwhile, peace out. We'll be black tomorrow, continuing our Juneteenth stories for the entire month of June 2021. We're going to just have a little fun. Peace out, y'all. Have a good night.